Okay, here's our agenda. I will be talking about the role of the Education Abroad Program Director, which, seems like, well, we know what that is. And but sometimes there are some aspects of that people forget about. And so we like to just make sure everybody understands the scope of the responsibilities. And then my colleague Nick was supposed to be here to talk about our VIA global platform, which we use for programs as well as for applications. And I'm going to have to fake it till I make it. So you will have to bear with me as I muddle my way through his part of the presentation. His email address is in the PowerPoint. So if you have follow-up questions later on, you can contact him. And then we have Chad, who introduced himself earlier to talk about the program budgeting process for faculty-directed programs, which is really our focus today, is the faculty-directed rather than other program types that we also offer. And then Gabby will close us out with information about health, safety, and emergency management, including some tips as well as resources that are available to you. Okay, so the role of the EA program director, first of all, every once in a while I hear new program directors talk about their education abroad course. And it makes me cringe a little bit because EA is much more than the course. And I think that's actually why all of you are doing it, because you understand that there's this value added to a course that exists on the books that you could teach here in the classroom on campus, but you understand that there is this value added component, this holistic learning that happens on education abroad. So in a typical classroom, for the most part, we deal with students' heads, right? We want to make sure they understand things. We're not often called upon to also deal with their hearts. And we don't very often, unless it's in a lab situation, see them in action doing stuff, right? Now, on education abroad, you will experience all of this and you will have to pay attention to all of it. I would say especially the heart piece, right? Because we all know that students get homesick, they may have boyfriend, girlfriend issues, all kinds of different things that can go on that usually in the typical classroom don't concern us, especially in the large lecture classes where we barely know the students. In addition to that, a program is also not just something that, you get off the plane in Panama and you do your program and then you go home and that's it. There's lead up work, as you all know, and pre-departure for students, setting things up in country. Then you have the on-site experience, of course, but even after that, it really shouldn't end. There should be something, at a minimum, you have to go into Concur and file an expense report. Okay, that's the not so fun part of this. But also in terms of, providing reflection opportunities for students, or maybe having a pizza get together, a reunion after the program. That's something that you could build into your program budget, for example. So that's something to think about if that's something you're interested in. And you will probably get to know your students really well, and they may ask you for letters of reference because all of a sudden there is this faculty member who knows them, as opposed to being one of 250 in a large classroom. The role also includes, in addition to the academic and very obvious piece, student affairs, like I mentioned. Group dynamics are a big deal on education abroad. So oftentimes you'll be called upon to maybe intervene or check back with some resources here on campus on how to deal with disruptive behavior with group dynamic issues. Disciplinary, unfortunately, also comes into play at times. Not all the time, but more often than we would like to see. There is a very firm process in place that Gabby will explain to us later, how to handle that. Health and safety obviously is huge. If something goes wrong, you're it. You're the first responder, and even if that first response is simply picking up the phone and calling Gabby. And then a cultural mediator. Many of you have deep experience in the country that you're going to, and students, for the most part, will not have that experience. So your role also includes that, helping them understand. It's like, no, it's not weird what they're doing. It's actually what they do, and it's not any weirder than what we do. I had a student once who commented in France that the French walk funny. I was like, well, okay, let's talk about that. Let's unpack that a little bit, right? What is it? Bring them to the level of observation, right? It's so, what do you see? Don't judge, don't evaluate. So that's really the bundle that makes up the role of EA program director. We have resources on our website that some of you may be familiar with. There's a whole guide to MSU Education Abroad programming. And the link is there. Again, you will get this PowerPoint, so you can link directly to it. And our colleagues in global safety are working on an updated program director on-site operations manual that I believe will be ready for next summer. That will be just a really handy, quick go-to resource for you on a variety of topics, including the discipline issue, health and safety, but also just some basic things that you may not think about that are pertinent to a program. Nick asked me to talk to you about Via Global and what that means for yourself and for students. Well, so we'll start with the student view. A student creating a profile in Via Global, which is the first step, and they're directed on how to do that on our website, will be able to go in and essentially do a program search, right? Because that's they're interested in a topic, they're interested in a country, they may look for a particular course that they still need to do, and they can do this here. So there's all kinds of, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. They can look for a particular program by going to a particular name. They can look for subject areas, and they can filter by all of these things, and then there's additional filters here. So for students, a student who's really like, I just want to shop around, they may just look at this page and scroll through all, I don't know, 400 programs that are on offer and see, oh, this one looks interesting. Mostly students will be more specific. They will know that they want to do a semester program, or they know they definitely want to go to Mexico and they want to see what's available in Mexico. We try to direct them to make decisions based on academic need. But that doesn't always succeed. But as long as what they're doing somehow fits into the degree program, be it an elective, an integrated studies requirement, or a cognate, whatever it is, they're good. But the focus really should be on what do I need to accomplish academically. So what students can do here is when the program is open for applications, this orange button will show up, okay? It's really pretty straightforward. You click on it, and then students will be directed to the application that is associated with this program, okay? There are different application types, and that's something that you will discuss with your coordinator to make sure that the application that is associated with your program gives you what you want. So for example, do you want a letter of recommendation? Do you want an essay? Do you want an interview? Whatever. We have a variety of those applications already templated, but we can also set up specific applications for you if you have a very unique requirement that you want to see that students submit. And another feature is that students can actually request information through this function as well. So that's what students see. And as you can see, the first thing is a picture. So having a nice photo oftentimes is very enticing to students. I mean, I wouldn't mind going on this program myself right now. Looks very inviting. And then down here, there's all kinds of information for students. Program overview. There is more detail about the program. Then there's information about academics, where we try to be as specific as possible, like for whom is this program ideally suited academically, and so on and so forth. The term information is where students go to actually apply then, if they don't do it using the orange button. And the term is essentially the current session of the program. So that's what's currently on offer. And we also list eligibility criteria. This is, again, something that you should work on with your coordinator to make sure you really have there what you want, right? Because what we can't do is once the review process is underway, all of a sudden say, oh no, I don't want students who are smokers, right? I mean, I'm kidding. we've had a case where a program director wanted us to say you can't be a smoker because they had the hypothesis that all smokers are also alcoholics. And so it took a while to talk him off that particular ledge, but we did. But eligibility criteria, you may have something really, really important, right? You need to be able to climb stairs or carry your suitcase or whatever the logistics of your program are. And of course, academic requirements. Now, this is something that you will probably forget, but it says cost and funding here, and there is information about cost and funding. It's just not the program cost. Once the budget is complete for a program, there will be a tab here called resources, and the actual cost information is under resources. And this is something we've been fighting with via Global forever, because for some reason we can upload PDFs to resources, but we cannot upload PDFs to cost and funding. It's the same type of tab. I don't know why, but they say it's not possible. Any case, this is mostly our problem because students will come to us and say, I can't find the cost information under cost. And we're like, well, yeah, it's because it's not under cost. So this is pretty much what students do. And as you know, some students know exactly what they want. They will go to our website, they will find the program, they'll apply, and that's that. Others will shop around and they have a ton of information. Students can indicate interest in a program, which is helpful also. So you can look at that and see who's interested in your program and follow up with them. Even if they have 10 other programs listed, you could say, hey, I'm Jen. Looks like you looked at my program. Can I tell you more about it, right? So it's a good way to start a conversation with students and maybe help them get over that hump, right? Because sometimes they're a little shy or they're like, oh, I don't want to talk to the professor. And, so there's all kinds of cool things that you can do in the system that you will learn about as you play in the system. And let me now go over to the side that you will see. Okay, so you will be added or already have been added to VIA Global as an administrator. This is what you will see as a program administrator. Okay, looks very different from what the students will see. As program administrator, you have a fairly limited set of rights within VIA because we try to make sure that we have consistency across all the programs and all the entries. So when you want to make changes on your particular, what we call the program brochure in VIA, work through your coordinator, okay? The coordinator will take your edits, make them, tell you that they have been made, and have you go in and check and make sure it's what you wanted, okay? And again, the reason is not that we don't trust you, except we don't trust you. There is language in there on these pages that is templated, and that is really, really important that it stays that way. And we all know sometimes you highlight something and it highlights more than you think, and you hit delete and stuff is gone that you don't really want gone. So work through your coordinator if you need edits. So now I'm going to read this script. So now I'm supposed to go to the applications dashboard. This is really kind of where it's at for you when it comes to reviewing applications. The other tab that is of interest at times is students. Under students, you can look up individual students and see their application. If you want to do like another deep dive and just say, I'm not so sure about this one, there is detailed information under each student. The applications is basically where you see all the students that are associated with your program. And you will not see anybody else's program. So it's not going to look like this, which is going to take a while because we have 25,000 applications in the system or something like that. So yours will be curated to your program. That's all you're going to be seeing. And VIA is taking its lovely time. Oh, 29. All right. what did I do here? Oh yeah. So I already I worked on this a little bit yesterday and it must have saved it for me. So you will see a number of applications, hopefully not 120. But say your program takes 15 students, you may see 18 applications in there in various stages of completion. So we have two things here. One is called application status, okay? And one is tracking step. So the tracking step is something that doesn't really need to concern you. It will change from applying to pre-departure, okay, once a student has actually applied. The application status is something that is very important. So there are various states that a student can be in. Incomplete, which is self-explanatory, right? Submitted, which means they actually hit the button and submitted the application. And it is very, very important that you do not take action on students that are in submitted status. You have to wait until they're in review, which is what I pulled up here as the preferred status. So we can actually walk through a student and show you how you would review and accept or reject a student, okay? So again, the submitted status means the application has come in. However, we do one extremely important review before we move students to in review. And that is Gabby's office checks, what's it called? Advocate, yeah, student conduct review. And we check to see if a student has applied, has a conduct entry in the system. If that is the case, in most cases, Gabby will send you that information, only you, it's very confidential, and you can take a look at it and make a decision. Now, if it's a senior and they had an alcohol violation during freshman year, you may just say, I really don't care, right? If it's a senior and they had some kind of violent incident during their junior year, you may want to say, first of all, how serious was it? You could decide right then and there that no, I don't want that. Or you could invite the student in and have a conversation. Okay. That's why it is super important not to move students, not to act on students in submitted status, because it's only submitted, they're not ready to be reviewed. So your queue, what you want to filter for is in review. And this is actually now what you would see if you had punched the student's name in here. Okay, so this has taken us from applications to student. And then it's not intuitive, and it threw all of us for a loop when Via made that change without telling us. We couldn't find student application here, right? It's because it's now hidden under student programs. Okay, so keep that in mind. Even though common sense would dictate that you go looking for applications, no, you have to look for student programs. This will pull up, many students will have like 6 or 7 programs here, either past programs that they participated in, programs that they're interested in, programs that they have an incomplete application for, I mean, whatever the case may be. But in this case, we have an application that is in review, so it's ready for you to look at. You click on View Details, and then for some reason that I don't understand, you have to click on View again. So 2 clicks, but okay. And then you are where you want to be, because then you can see the student's application. It's fairly long. You get their demographics, you get their essay if you requested one, and so on and so forth. And very importantly, then down here, you see student application status. This is where your power comes in, right? So you click here, and if you want to accept the students, you simply change the application students to accepted. Okay. Now, we really only want you to use accepted or rejected, or not accepted. All the other ones, this is a commercial product, right? And so they deal with a lot of schools, and a lot of schools do things differently than we do at MSU, even though, that's their problem because we do it best. But in any case, make sure you don't do conditionally accepted. That's probably one of the worst ones because it leads down a rabbit hole that you don't want to go in. Done. Okay. If you have a question about the decision making, let your coordinator know and they can walk you through it. But it's, as you can see, it's relatively easy. You have the application on the left side, you scroll through it, you decide, okay, the student checks out, and you go over and you accept them, which I will not do because I'm not the program director for this program. Any questions about that? Yeah.
You just said we should be doing accepted and rejected, but I see committed up there. And can you talk about the new policy of the $750? And is that like a limbo thing to?
No. Okay.
We really should talk to a student first to make sure they really are into it, because we don't want them to lose $700, right?
Yeah. So committed is what the student does. Okay. So once the student is accepted, they have 2 weeks to make a decision. They can still say, nah, I want to withdraw, in which case they will get everything back. They would get everything back, including the deposits that they paid. Okay. Once they're committed, they're on the hook. Chad, did you want to add anything?
No, I think you nailed it. It's not up to you to decide at that time if it's up to the student. By you committing them, it just gives them the opportunity to fully commit to the program, and that's when the feasibility process is.
So we should be clear talking to them that they have 2 weeks until the 750 really kicks in.
Yeah, so the 750 is what we call the commitment deposit. Okay, and we changed that rather drastically, increased it rather drastically, because we had a huge problem over the past 2 years with students applying. I think the record was 19 programs. And I mean, obviously the student had some money because they were charged the 100 application fee for each one of them. So I don't know, but students, I don't know if they're gaming the system or what they're doing, but you think you have a student, right? And then all of a sudden you don't. And if your minimum enrollment is 18 and you are at 18 and you go, yes, I'm going to go, this is great. And then all of a sudden 2 students decide, oh, I was just kidding, right? So we decided to make the commitment hurt.
Actually, we had a meeting this summer, so yes, it's money that we really use because it's not extra, it's just really. But last year I had 25 accepted students, and that number dropped to 16. And 16 was like too low. So I had to have a special approval from my college to go. I think that we probably solved the issue, but I don't think we're making them pay more. Right? It's just.
Yeah, no, we're not making them pay more. Both. That's why we.
Now they're sure.
Yeah. That's why we call them deposits. Okay. It's a $100 application deposit and a commitment deposit. Both amounts go towards the program fee. So, yeah.
When the student get it, so they apply, you accept them. VIA will also send them an automation of the email, and it's going to lay this out at every step. So they're going to be reminded if you commit, there's fees that are like our commitment fee with cost, but along with our refund policy. So before they didn't really get vetted, I don't think very well. They'd have to dig for it, but it's like they're going to get it like 3 times. In addition to you reminding them, they're also going to be reminded. So by the time they commit, they should be well aware of that 750 deposit. And then also your coordinator should have had a conversation with you to see if you wanted to do delayed decision or if you wanted to do rolling admission. Because most of your summer program financially for spring semester will hit in January. So if you're worried the student couldn't afford the 750, you could hold off, accept your students, but then have the decision go out in December. So most of my programs are going out like December 1st or 2nd. Then the student has their 2 weeks, but hopefully the financial aid will be kicking in at that point anyways. Versus if you put it in October, they might not have the 750. So you and your coordinator should be having those conversations. You want to do rolling or if you want to do delayed, because there are different settings a coordinator can put on your application.
That would be to.
Yes, so if you want to do the delay, the student has the spot, you agree with the student, it's just they're not gonna get their acceptance letter, their acceptance email. Until like December 1.
And they both have advantages and disadvantages, and that's why it's important that you consult with your coordinator, right? Because they have a lot of experience managing programs. The other issue that Charlotte brought up is that just because you fall below your minimum enrollment does not necessarily mean your program is not going to run. My earlier example, if your minimum enrollment for the budget is 18 and you're at 17, but we're not going to cancel that program, right? Because we're not going to deprive 17 students of the experience. We're going to work with you and your college on making sure that we can make it work financially. And there's a lot of different ways that we can make it work. Okay, give and take. You could lower your per diem. The college could decide to move some costs from program fee under instructional, two parts of the budgets that Chad will talk about. So there's all kinds of different ways. However, it is still disappointing, and especially, I mean, in the case you have 26 students, then all of a sudden you go back the next day and there's 16. That's sad, right? And that's why we decided to make it a little. It's like earnest money, right? I mean, $750, that's serious change. We're really excited to see how that is going to impact application behavior on the part of students next year. Okay, if you want to send a message to all your students, you would go under applications where all your apps are listed. And then there is a checkbox right at the top that will highlight all the checkboxes for individual students, and you can send a mass message, or you can send messages to individual students by checking the box. So it has a built-in messaging function, which is one of the features I really like, because then you have everything in one place. One thing that I forgot to mention for application status, you can accept, reject, but you could also waitlist a student. This is actually highly recommended for very popular programs. So say you can really logistically only take 24. You are at 24, but given the somewhat fickle nature of some students, you may want to say, well, there's 2 more students who are interested. I'll get them to apply, and then you waitlist them. That way you have a little bit of a buffer in case one of the other students decides not to go. So that's the waitlist function, but you should really limit yourself to those 3: accept, reject, waitlist. And again, your EA coordinator is a wonderful resource for that. Now, over to Chad and program budgets.
All right, hope everybody's doing well, getting through this here. So the budget process starts when, well, there's 2 different ways, like foundations in neuroscience, you're taking over an existing program that's already created, or you've created a new program. Worked with the college, got that approved. From there, you're going to work with your program coordinator to create a budget. Costs such as housing, airfare, per diems, that sort of thing. If you're working with a provider, you can get costs from them to get a fairly accurate budget before we move forward. Once you create those numbers, it comes to our office. Angie in our office will be the first one to review it. After that, I will review and approve it or ask questions about it, and then it goes back to your college liaison for the final approval. So between your coordinator and you'll be the first one to sign off on the budget with the numbers. If those change, the process starts over, it'll go back to you. But between the program director signing off on it, the college liaison signing off on it, and our office, we're pretty confident going forward. And once that is set, we can set the program fees or how much students are charged. And then the student summary sheet is produced off of that and uploaded into VIA so students can see the program brochure for the first time.
And again, this is under resources, not under cost.
Yeah. Adherence to the program budget is important. There's always going to be exceptions. Airfare costs rise, cost of living rises. If something is dramatically off, we ask you to reach out to your program coordinator. In either direction, we might need to reduce classroom activities or find a new way. Ingen mentioned, reducing per diems, that sort of thing. It's kind of what program directors do. it goes the other way too. If you get so many students over your minimum budget, there's extra money in the program, we can start looking at adding activities as well. Prepaying for program-related expenses is one of the best things that we found to help program directors. Prepay for housing, transportation, anything that you can get invoice for before you leave for the program is going to be helpful to you rather than taking sometimes upwards of tens of thousands of dollars overseas and trying to manage that and concur later, is beneficial to you as well.
For what you need the travel card.
Travel card is used on site. So if you want something prepaid, we recommend you do it through our office. We can use, we have our own travel card. University Ghost Card is used for airfare in most cases, as long as you book it through Concur. But for the travel card, we try to use that for in-country related expenses and for extra cash you may need in case something happens in country.
Can we use our travel card for student expenses?
Yes, depending on what they are.
But like entry fee to a museum or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, coming back and Concur and submitting a receipt, you just have the total receipt and, list the names of students basically for the controller's office.
All of you will be added to our master list of program director. And then you will be receiving a monthly program director memo that I send out. And it has a lot of standing items from Chav's office that just remain the same from month to month. So it's an easy way for you to get a lot of information related to the nitty-gritty of how to create a travel request in Concur, how to do an expense report. There are videos and other types of resources.
Yep.
So we try to build a lot of redundancies into how to get this information to you so that it's easy to find.
And I've added links for all that information that Inga's speaking of as well, and it'll be given to you after the presentation, so you'll have access to it. Any more questions before we move forward? Right, so the budget structure for faculty director programs consists of 3 separate financial buckets. You'll have the instructional side of the bucket, which is more focused on, I would say, like the college portion of the budget, or what the college has ownership of in a way. Generally, that side of the budget, expenses in there, you'll likely see like faculty, program leader stipends, gifts, if any, are some big ones.
That's because
Guest speakers, guest lecturers. Sometimes you'll see classroom fees up in there. Depending on where you're at program fee wise, if you want a targeted program fee number, moving stuff from the second portion of the budget, which is the program fee, up to the instructional side will reduce the cost to students if you're trying to hit a targeted number as well.
And that is something that you need to work with your college on. This is not something that you or your coordinator or anybody can decide. This is where your college plays in, because the instructional side of the budget pretty much belongs to the college.
So yeah, so we need, if we see something going way over like on a program fee side of the budget, we will talk to your college liaison to see like, hey, this is $3,000 over. Can we move this to the instructional side, which will reduce their returns at the end of the fiscal year? But that's something that, like Inga said, the college has ownership over, so not something that we can really determine. The second portion of the budget is the program fee. That is where all the nuts and bolts are kept outside, like faculty stipends, that sort of thing. So flights, student housing, faculty housing, per diems, program related activities. Everything is generally kept in the program side of the budget. Everything that's added to the program side of the budget with the spreadsheets and budgets that's created will determine what the program fee is for the program. So depending on, some people try to hit a target for it. Some people just put in all the information and see where they're at and see where it shakes out. You can go both ways, and then you can always try to, like I said, if you have something in the program side of the budget and move it up to the instructional side, that will effectively reduce the total program fee for the student. And then the third bucket is the out-of-pocket expenses. This focuses on the student and what they can expect in addition to what their program fee would be. This will include airfare if it's not included in the program fee, out-of-pocket spending money, extra money for transportation, souvenirs, that sort of thing. We try to give them a ballpark number on that.
Passport as well as
Passports, visas.
immunizations, if there are any.
Visas and passports are in there as well. And then the students will be billed by MSU for their tuition and program fee. So like we talked about earlier, once they apply, they'll be charged that $100 application deposit. Once they're reviewed and approved by the program director, then they have the ability to commit, and it's very clear that they will be charged. Spring break and summer programs will be charged the $750 at that time, and then the remaining portion will be billed after that.
Yeah, and the billing pretty much follows central billing schedule. So we try to time our sending over our costs. So it goes out at the same time as the tuition bill. So it's all in one place for students.
So yeah, we follow MSU's billing schedule so they can expect at the same time as they get tuition bills. I think we try to go a week ahead just to be safe. And then the systems you'll be using and training opportunities that are available. Concur is the main beast that we work with. You're going to use Concur to create a travel request. Travel request lets the university know and Gabby's office like where you're going to be, what days you're traveling, that sort of thing. Inside the travel request, you can request cash advances as well. This amount should be predetermined by you and your program coordinator when building the budget. We don't want people with large amounts of cash overseas if we don't have to. That's why prepaying is important. But there's some, regions of the world where it just doesn't work that way. So they take large amounts of cash advances. Another option of the travel card is we have the ability to raise cash advance limits in country. So if you need more cash advance limits, we can raise them temporarily. So one way or another, we'll find a way to get you the money if you need it. Travel request after your trip turns into an expense report. So you go grab that travel request that'll be in your Concur profile. You can create an expense report right off that, and that's where you'll put in all your expenses. A lot of them will pre-populate, or if you use there's a Concur app for it where you can just take pictures of receipts, so you're not carrying around a file of them. Those will auto-populate in there where you can just click on them, put in the expense type, so brief information, and then it'll be added to your expense report.
This first one's easy. Can you remind me what the name of the app is?
I think it's Concur. SAP Concur.
And then the second one is in regards to cash. So we would be going to really rural parts of Mexico. I've been very surprised in recent years that there is a shift to digital money management, but it relies a lot on like apps. Like so whereas 10 years ago in Mexico, if you didn't have cash in rural areas, you were out of luck.
Yep.
Now folks will pull up their phone and you WhatsApp me $50. So you get on WhatsApp and you can literally through WhatsApp send in $50. Is that type of purchase, as long as we have a justifiable business reason, can we use our travel cards for that, or should we do cash?
Go ahead.
I would recommend it. What I know some other directors have done is they've taken their cash from their cash request and put it in a separate account and then use that account for the cash apps. So then you've got all the transactions clearly put, not mixed at all with your funds. And it's easier to then reconcile when you're done. I would also note too, Chad will probably mention, we have some videos that walk you through nuances with expense reports. Even if you know Concur, it's really important you watch those expense report videos because there are just some things that are different for our programs and how to account for the expenses that are not typical if you travel to a conference. So I just wanted to push that a little bit.
No, that's fine.
Yep.
Any other questions?
That's the idea of opening an account just for that is brilliant. What I do I just go to, I have an account with the credit union and, you know, my travel advance will just go into that. And then I have very clear accounting. I know exactly what's coming.
Yeah, and that makes more sense too, because the travel advance that you request and get will be sent to your bank account that's on file with the university. So it makes a lot of sense to have another account. Resources to support you. The controller's office is good. They also have a bunch of online frequently asked questions, one-on-one labs. They also have open hours, open like travel lab hours. I think they're like 10:30 to noon on certain days. And if you connect with our office, we're happy to give you those hours or help you as well. So the travel office is part of the controller's office. So that's a little bit misleading, but they're great. They're very responsive. I've seen them. They're always responding within 24 hours to any questions you have. But our office is happy to help as well. And then here's the additional resources we were talking about. So Ryan and Angie got together and created two Concur videos, one for submitting a request in Concur, and the second one for once you return the trip for creating your expense report. They're fantastic. They'll answer a lot of questions for you as well. The second one is a presentation we did on a financial planning and preparation workshop. We ran this twice a year. We recorded the last session, so that's available as well for any resources that you might need. I believe that's all that I have. Yeah. Is there anything I can answer for anybody? Any questions?
What's your timeline? When should we put on our travel? When should we get our plane tickets?
Yep. Yep, they'll walk you through all that stuff. And we've given them best practices by trial and error sort of thing. You know, you can submit your concur request as early as you want. One of the big questions that comes up is where's my money after you submit it. They generally don't release the funds until 2 weeks before your trip starts, so that's important to know. But yeah, your coordinator will give you a timeline of what you need to do.
In essence, do not wait until 2 weeks before your program, which happens regularly, and then we have.
After the trip.
That office has to deal with, where's my cash advance and not here because you submitted to them.
All right, well, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Okay, got it, done.
Also, to answer your question about the timeline, I know that Education Abroad and our office are working on a combined timeline, so you know exactly when to do these financial pieces and the health and safety requirements. So that should be coming out actually in a couple of weeks. All right. So as I mentioned, I'm Gabrielle Baylor. I know some of you guys. I work in the Office of Global Health, Safety, and Security. I can give you a very, very brief overview of what we do, and then talk about your requirements for your education abroad programs, and then sort of tips, tricks, recommendations, and like best practices for your pre-departure at this stage. Okay, so our office, as you may have gleaned, we pretty much work with a lot of different entities on campus and off campus. We evaluate and review all of the global travel that happens here. So if you ever did a conference overseas or did any research in the DRC or are doing an education abroad program, we had a hand in reviewing it. We help provide medical and security support when you're abroad. So when you or your students go abroad and it's MSU sponsored, you're automatically covered by our health coverage. You'll get more information about what that means in the trainings, but it's very good. You don't have to do any deductibles or anything like that. We also have a 24/7 emergency support, as Inga had mentioned. It won't always be me answering the phone. It just seems that sometimes that does happen, but we do have a 24/7 line that our office shares. So anytime we're always available and we always pick up the phone, and we work very closely with the MSU Police Department as well. We also offer health and safety trainings, like for you guys, but also if you have any pre-departure orientations and want one of our members from our office to come speak to your students, we're very happy to do so. And do give like even a very customized and detailed briefing for that. And we monitor global developments and events, and we work with committees like the RSAC committee, which is for it's the Risk Security Advisement Committee, but it's for students, and we have another one for faculty. And we kind of evaluate, like, okay, things are heating up in Ecuador, for example, and we kind of monitor those things. So that's kind of a very bird's eye view of what we do. For your purposes, for your education abroad programs, there are about two main things to remember for office is the critical incident management training. There's a part one online on ability that you should be enrolled in already. You might get those annoying little reminders. You have to do that every year. And then there's a part two, and that's the live training. And that goes over scenarios and goes more in detail, and it's more interactive. We like to hear from program directors' experiences. This year, we're actually doing something a little bit new where we're going to have on November 5th, in person for new program director CRM training. Some of the feedback we received was that some program directors like the more, scenario based and they need to know all the rules every 2 years. You have to do this part every 2 years. And some, new program directors needed to know like the basics. So we have one. As long as you sign that sheet, I will get that calendar invite to you today. If you that can't make it for whatever reason, we'll work it out, okay? Another thing is we also do sometimes specialized workshops for different topics regarding health and safety. These are optional. So this past spring, we had a mental health workshop with actual mental health experts from CAPS and EAP, the psychologist there, which was a very great session about de-escalation, which applies to mental health and then student behavior. There's a lot more crossover sometimes. And then we also have had a workshop with the Office of Student Support and Accountability. So they go over how to handle certain behavior issues while abroad and also their process. So again, dates are to be determined, but those are something that we routinely offer. You will often see this in the program director memo that Education Abroad puts out. Okay. I think except for one, all of you guys don't really have to do the first aid training, but that's if you ever did a program that was 90 minutes away from the nearest hospital. Okay, so the vast majority of education abroad programs don't have to fulfill that requirement. But except for maybe one in here. Yes.
There's a period of time, say an hour, and be away more than 90 minutes away from the hospital. Does that make you a remote program for an hour?
It depends on how long are you spending time over there? We can talk after this, okay? But yeah, so usually definitely if you're spending any night away, like in this weekend excursion, or even spending most of the day, like 12 hours.
Counts as a hospital, like, because like in Mexico,
Yeah.
there's a lot of government rural clinics that have a physician there.
Yeah.
And staff, but they're not hospitals.
Yeah. Oh, those do count as medical centers as well. Okay. Yeah. Oh no, that's great. That's fine. We are definitely a believer. We want to know everything all the time up front. So you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask our office. Again, I work a lot with education abroad, but it's an all team effort. So yeah. And then the second thing is the contingency plan. We need that at least 6 weeks prior to departure. We try to play with the timeline, but we need it 6 weeks prior to departure. The reason why we do a lot of location tracking. So like, for example, if there's a natural disaster, we need to get information out. We need to know where you guys are, or where your programs are. So that's one of the things we do, as well as we send messages to people abroad. We also have help forms and accommodation requests. For accommodation requests, you will be working with your education abroad coordinator about that. We get pulled in just in case there's something regarding location or something we need to know about as far as where people are. Health forms, that's a whole topic that we can go more in depth during the training. Does anyone have any questions about over here though before? Okay, so When it comes to talking about health and safety of your students at this juncture, I know you're in the very beginning of your process, but these are just a few key ideas, which is that we don't ever say ensure or guarantee safety. We support safety because there's no such thing as risk-free travel, right? And we emphasize with the students that it's kind of you're all in this together. We really, really push buddy systems as well, and group communication. And your pre-departure orientations, whenever you begin starting those, it is expected that you have like a WhatsApp group or a group me, but you need to be able to communicate with your students. You are the first, I guess, line of safety on the ground. And we're here to support you. When you're in your pre-departure orientations, touching about medication and allergies, we don't necessarily, the way MSU works, we don't necessarily know the full process, or we don't necessarily know unless the student discloses to us. When I say we, the EA coordinator, you as a program director, our office, unless the student discloses to us, we don't necessarily know what kind of medications they're on. So we have to get them to start thinking about bringing medication overseas, depending on where you're going and depending what type of medication it is, it can be a little bit complicated. Again, I will go in more detail during the CIM training. One of the resources we have, though, I can tell you this now, is our International SOS. So International SOS, you may have heard it before, is our big company, or security and health provider. Basically, we work with them to help us find healthcare providers wherever you are. We also work with them if, let's say, someone needed to be evacuated. This goes for any faculty, staff, or student travel. Highly recommend downloading the app. It's fantastic. You can also use them for pre-departure work as well. So let's say you want to put a pre-departure orientation together for the students and you want to talk about maybe the safety and security of the town that you're visiting. You can talk to International SOS and they can give you a briefing on that. Also, they can give you confidential help when it comes to, oh, am I allowed to bring the Xanax to Japan, for example? Like you can call them or the students. So you would share these resources with your students during your pre-departure orientation. Yeah. We work with MSU Travel Clinic. They're also great resources. ISOS, CAPS, and Pulse, which is we work with global health and safety people at other universities like Harvard, University of Michigan, and many others. So you can also, if you get everything I say, just email me.
Can I add just one more thing? So, the resources that Gabby lists on the slide, obviously directly related to health and safety and stuff, but I also would say, remind everybody that just because you'll be traveling with students in another country doesn't mean that MSU overall goes away. We oftentimes get requests from program directors helping us with, for example, classroom behavior, right? Or group dynamics. We're not the experts here, and neither is global health and safety. What would you do if you were in your classroom here at MSU? Where would you go? To whom would you reach out, right? Which is not to say don't let us know what's going on, but don't forget that you can always tap into those resources. You can contact OSSA directly, right, with a student issue. And the reason I say this is that sometimes it's almost like MSU is outside of mind. And then all the calls go to Gabby, and when they really don't need to, because you're still faculty and you still have access to all the other resources.
Thank you. Well said, Inga. Again, we work a lot with different offices around campus, and some of those same things you have on campus works when you're abroad as well, where the whole MSU institution is behind you. That's, I think, very key to remember. So you're never alone. We do have a pre-departure orientation template that's available on our website. As I mentioned before, these are kind of the things that we recommend as far as when you start your pre-departures, which is one touching on mental health, self-care. Mental health is about maybe 1 out of 10 of the issues, incidents that happen abroad. Yeah. We also have your letting you know your due diligence and alcohol misuse. That policy is something you definitely want to go over with your students beforehand. And then also group communication, identifying peer leaders and whatnot. Again, we will go more in detail at the critical incident management training. It's online and in person. Does anyone else have any other questions before I let you go?
I just want to make one comment, and that is that all students are invited and are supposed to be required to do an online orientation in D2L, which is very generic, so it's not location specific. And that covers a lot of stuff, including some cross-cultural tips. But that does not take the place of your personalized, location specific, program specific legal departure, where you can help students, with expectation setting. I think that's part of leveraging. So this is really important because students are eligible or are allowed to drink in countries where they meet the legal drinking age. So you can't stop them from drinking. However, you can intervene when, for example, a student regularly just imbibes too much and sits in class and snoozes, right? And so what I've done is I just have what I don't even call attendance or participation, it's engagement. Like, are you actually here cognitively, not just physically? So think about using your syllabus because you can't punish them for drinking, but you can have consequences that are results. We have a whole team on our staff that the coordinators that work on orientation. So if you want ideas or just shoot the breeze with them, feel free to contact us about that.
Yes. It's the alcohol misuse policy, if that's exactly what we'll be going in detail. All right, so just to recap, CIM training, we'll see you November 5th. The CIM training part 1 online, and then we can again bring up these topics again as far as pre-departure orientation as well, and health and safety. And then finally, the contingency plan, 6 weeks before you depart. Okay. You will please pay attention to the program director memos. If not, it gets to an end where I have to go and email and the program directors who haven't fulfilled the requirements. But you guys seem very engaged. So looking forward to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.